friends and pioneers. Today was our first sweet pea harvest, and Bill brought this big giant bucket of sweet peas in from the garden, and we still have some growing, but this is our first harvest from that, and I'm going to show you how I prepare and freeze them. So the very first thing you do is you need to hull the peas. So, and typically you can just press them and they open up. I don't know if you can see that, but if you press them, they just open up like that. So I'm gonna hull the peas, and then we need to blanch them in salt water for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna dry them, drain them and dry them, and then I'm gonna freeze them in vacuum seal bags, and so then we can eat them whenever we want fresh peas. So let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, we just pressed on them, and the peas, I don't know if you've ever known this, but the peas kind of hang on at the top, and we're just going to take those and drop them in the bowl. And then we're not going to waste these hulls, we're going to give them to our pigs. So I'm going to drop those in another bowl over to the side. And I'm not going to let the camera run the whole time I'm doing these peas because I've got a very long way to go. But I'll do a few, and I hope you decide to grow sweet peas yourself. We love them. I put them in so many recipes, and I like them plain. I put them in salads. Peas, the main benefit of peas is niacin, which is extremely healthy. And ducks love peas, except for our ducks. They never have liked peas. But they're full of niacin, and what I do is I buy the supplemented powdered niacin to give them. So, and right now I have a sick duck. There's something wrong with her, and I've got her quarantined in one of our brooder boxes, and I'm trying to take care of her, give her electrolytes and herbal tonics to try to get her to feel better. She's not walking, she just sits, and she's eating and drinking fine, she's just not walking around. And it's almost been, I think we're on day 5, so I know she's not egg bound, because typically birds die pretty quickly within 48 hours if they're egg bound, and they can't pass that egg. So anyway, alright, so we're gonna get these hulled, and we'll be back when I've got a bowl full of peas. Okay, so I'm boiling my water. I've got all the peas all shucked out from the hulls. There's probably 6 or 8 cups of peas, and I'm gonna package them in 2-cup intervals. So I won't have very many packages, but we're still harvesting, so we'll just do a little at a time as they get ready to be pulled off the vine. Then I'll process them. So what I'm going to do is, once this comes to a boil, I'm going to put as many as I can in here. We're going to blanch them for 1 to 2 minutes, and then I'm going to pour them in another bowl of cold water to stop the cooking, and then we're going to have them cool completely off before I freeze them. So we'll be back when this is ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt to the water right before it boils. And I've got a bowl off camera of ice water. And as soon as it's about to take off and start boiling, I'm going to start scooping my peas in there, and we'll set the timer to 1.5 minutes, and then I'll scoop them into the cold water and we'll just rotate them out. I think that's the best way to do this, because we're not really trying to cook them. We're just trying to seal in that, because if you freeze them like this, they take longer to cook and they don't have the same flavor. Okay, we're almost to that stage, so I'm going to start adding them in. And you're going to get pieces of them that you don't necessarily want, because that's what's come out of the smaller pea pods. But since these are room temperature, that shouldn't take very much to get them up. And it'll also brighten the peas into a really dark green. I'm going to turn the stove off, and I'm going to start ladling them in the cold water, because we want to stop them from cooking. And you could use a strainer. I have one over there. I just don't want to burn myself with the water. Alright, let me try. I'm going to strain off the rest of these. Pour these into here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drain these off, and I'm going to let them dry in the strainer. And then we'll get them ready to package up to freeze them. So we'll be back. Okay, we're going to let these drain and dry out with this little water. I'm going to probably let them sit here for a good 20-25 minutes and let them dry out a little bit. And you don't want them sopping wet when you put them in the Ziploc, or not Ziploc. I'm going to use the vacuum sealer. You don't want them dripping wet, because when they freeze, you're going to have a bunch of chunks of ice on them. So, we just want to make sure that they're going to get dry. Okay, so once these get to be a little bit more dry than they are right now, I'll be back and we will get our vacuum sealer ready. What I'm going to be using is the Food Saver liquid block, and I've got a few of them left, and let's see if these are a little bit better in sealing. To the bottom, and we'll put this down like this, and all this does is it keeps the water from going, so it won't seal properly. So put the handle down and we're going to hit moist. And then and it did do a seal, and most of the moisture went into the little pad they have in here, so that got a really good seal. Anything with water moisture really doesn't do well with these vacuum seals unless you have the really good, settings. 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of them in this bag. I think that's going to give me what I need. It's really exciting to have fresh vegetables from your garden because there's so many pesticides on most produce. Okay, so I'm going to push this down. I'm going to put it on moisture, so I'm telling it there's moisture in here, and then we're going to vacuum. Okay, so I got quite a bit of peas. I got 6 cups. I got 6 cups of peas for this harvest, their first harvest, and we're going to go ahead and mark these and put them in our freezer. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope your garden is producing lots of harvests for what y'all have, and as we harvest more vegetables and fruit, I will also include y'all in that. We have a lot of strawberries, but we get maybe 4 or 5 each time we go and pull them. They're not all ripening at the same time, so we're just kind of eating them as we go. Any of the bad ones were given to the chickens. Our blueberries are blooming a lot. The blackberries haven't come in yet. They won't, and probably until the end of June and the first part of July. And the blueberries were, again, there's not enough to make anything with them at the same time. We're having to just store. We do give a lot of them to the chickens as we're re-getting the constitution back in our eggs. So I hope you're having a wonderful garden harvest, and again, thank you very much for joining me for this video. If you have any questions about how to preserve fresh peas out of the garden, feel free to leave your comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as I can. Everybody have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys on the next video.